What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 5 most broken builds in POE of Exile 2 0.3 update. This patch has completely changed the meta with the new Elemental Infusion system, ascendancy reworks, and a bunch of balance changes that made some builds absolutely insane. So today I will break down each build, how it works, why it is so strong in this current patch, and how can you put it together for yourself, no matter if you are starting fresh or already pushing the endgame. And remember, if you want to try any of these builds out, then check my links in the description for their path of building and the full build guides. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM. They are a pro website that provides POE2 services like cheap currency, then even to trade all types of quality items and gems and much more. They have also more than 20,000 positive comments on Trustpilot, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KATE for extra 6% off. So first up, we've got the multi-element sorceress build, which is a Stormweaver setup that takes the full advantage of the new Elemental Infusion system. This build is an absolute powerhouse once it gets going, and what makes it especially broken is just how smooth the transition is, going from the early campaign leveling into a full-blown endgame caster. When you're first starting out, you're just a regular sorceress, using the fireballs, frostbolts or the sparks like everyone else. But the moment you unlock infusions in around Act 3, the build transforms. Instead of sticking to just one element and scaling it, you're weaving multiple elements together and stacking overlapping buffs that lets you shock, burn and freeze enemies all at the same time. It's like turning your screen into a blender. Enemies just don't die, they get erased in 3 different elements simultaneously. Now, what is especially strong about this build is that it works even in the solo cell found. You don't need insane uniques or trade gated gear. If you just follow the progression, hit around level 45 to 50 and grab the right permanent rewards from the Act 3 and 6, then you're all set up to go. The key campaign reward to always take is the mana regeneration in Act 3, because once you start spamming multiple infusion spells, you're going to need that sustain. And in Act 3, take the +5 to all attributes for the long-term flexibility with the gem requirements. Defensively, the sorceress stacks energy shield and the life together with resistances, as the glue that is holding all together. The movement speed is your #1 quality of life stat early on, so get boots with the speed as soon as possible. That makes a massive difference when you're dodging bosses or just rushing through the acts. Then for weapons, your staffs are your best friends as the league starter, since they roll with massive stat bonuses, but later on you can transition into a wand and a shield setup for a good balance of damage and tankiness. As for uniques, you don't need them, but if you're lucky enough to drop boots that boost energy shield recharge, or the new unique wand with the spell damage and the chaos resistance, the leveling process becomes ridiculously easy. Even so, the whole build is designed to stand out on its own, without requiring special jobs. By the time that you're in the maps, this build will feel like cheating. You've got overlapping shocks for your lightning skills, freezes from your cold spells, and ignite ticking from your fire damage. Bosses just crumble when all 3 effects stack at once. And then there's the ascendancy path, permanent infusions for the guaranteed buffs, plus the new arcane mana tanking mechanics that lets you take damage to mana before life. Even without regeneration, you're borderline immortal. This build is broken not just because of its damage, but because it does everything. It's tanky, it's fast, and it scales insanely well into the endgame. If you want a caster that can carry you through the league without needing a perfect gear, then this is the one. Next up, we got the return of a classic, the Lightning Arrow Ranger. Deadeye has always been about screen wide clear speed, and in 0.3 the Lightning Arrow has evolved into something even crazier. Between the buffed scaling of projectiles, Deadeye's reworked ascendancy nodes, and interactions with the lightning rods, this build just destroys everything in its path. And here's the thing, most bow builds in the path of Exile 2 has historically been class cannons. They either way clear fast but could not kill bosses, or they killed bosses but felt clunky in the maps. But Lightning Arrow in the 0.3 breaks that mold. It absolutely deletes packs with the chain shocking arrows. And when it comes to bosses, you weapon swap and apply a 20-second super shock that basically multiplies your entire damage output, With even average gear, that's enough to one-shot pinnacle bosses if you're set up right. The gear is straightforward but effective. You need to cap your resistances at 75% for the fire, cold and lightning. Rings and gloves will give you flat damage, ideally the lightning or the physical converted to the lightning, while your bow should be the highest DPS element that you can afford. Then quivers are stacked with the attack speed, projectile speed or the flat bow damage. And don't forget about the evasion gear for survivability. So chest, boots and gloves should lean into that balance of your defense. Then as for the Deadeye's ascendancy progression, Gathering Winds into the point blank, then into the endless ammunition. The Gathering Winds will give you permanent tailwind, which makes you feel like you're zooming across the screen. Then the point blank will fix the single target problem, and endless munitions will just add more projectiles to scale your clear speed even further. In the maps you basically just run around and press lightning arrow. The heralds and the lightning rods will do the rest. Against tougher rares you might need to drop a rod or two, but most enemies won't even get close to you. Bossing is where you see how broken this build really is. Precast your arrows, swap to your shock weapon, hit the boss with the massive 20-second shock, and then spam lightning arrow until their health bar evaporates. This build truly makes farming feel effortless. And honestly, it's probably the best bow build that Path of Exile 2 has ever seen. Then coming in at number 3, we got the Flicker Strike Monk. If you like builds that feel fast, chaotic and explosive, then this is the one for you. Flicker Strike has always been one of the most stylish melee skills in Path of Exile 2, and in 0.3 it's stronger than ever thanks to the crit scaling and the new defensive synergies. The concept is simple: you teleport from enemy to enemy with the flicker, critting almost every hit, and detonating packs with the AoE explosions from the link skills like the up wheel. Mapping feels like a blur. You don't even need to really walk, just Flicker Strike across the map, and everything dies before you even realize. Bosses are where this build truly becomes broken. By stacking nearly 100% crit chance and combining it with the setups like Infernal Cry and additional charge generation, the Flicker Strike Monk can literally one-tap tier 4 pinnacle bosses. You pre-generate charges, just go in and flicker once or twice, and the fight is over. Now, survivability is where the build surprises people. You'd think that something this fast and damage focused would be squishy, but it's actually not. By stacking energy shield, instant life recovery and the recharge mechanics, the build is tanky enough to clear tier 16 maps with ease. Then as far as gear goes, the belt that converts life flask into the energy shield sustain are huge here, which makes it feel like you always recover even in the middle of a chaos. And the general idea for the gear, you want a high crit melee weapon, energy shield on your chest and the helmet, and rings or amulets that give you extra melee levels, crit chance and resistances. Attack speed is nice but not as important. The main priority is stacking crit chance until you're capped, and then piling on crit damage multipliers. If you like melee but hate being slow, then this is the broken build for you. It's flashy, it's tanky, and it kills bosses faster than just about anything else right now. At number 4, we got the Volcanic Fissure Warrior build, which is a setup that turns the ground itself into a weapon. This one is a bit more methodical compared to the last two, but don't let that fool you. Once it's online, it absolutely melts both packs and bosses, with overlapping fissures that erupt under enemies' feet. The gameplay loop revolves around the Forge Hammer as your main setup. You throw the hammer, recall it and then throw it again. Every impact leaves behind fissures that explode shortly after. Against single targets, you combine that with the Ancestral Cry and the other buffs, and then walk around to trigger additional fissures with your footsteps. It's a simple but devastating rotation that scales ridiculously well into the endgame. Defensively, this build is all about stacking resistances and spirit to sustain through the big slams. Once you unlock the upgrades like replacing certain supports with the Volcanic Fissure specific multipliers, then your single target rotation becomes almost unfair. Even bosses with multiple faces don't stand a chance, because the fissures keep triggering damage as you move. The build shines especially in mapping, because every slam you do will leave behind a fissure that chains into the other enemy. It's one of those skills that feels great when you play it, because you're not just hitting once, you're leaving behind a trail of destruction everywhere you go. And now finally, we've come to the 5th build, which is another classic that's been getting even more buffs in the 0.3, aka the Spark Sorceress build, specifically the Blood Mage variant. Spark has always been known for filling the screen with the lightning projectiles, but now with proper crit scaling and mana sustain, it just feels flat out broken. The build revolves around one button, the Spark. You cast it and then projectiles bounce all over the screen, deleting everything in the sight. With 100% crit chance on the spells, every spark is a guaranteed lightning nuke. Add in the Orb of Storms for the bossing and you've got one of the most consistent, smooth caster experiences in the game. Then defensively, the Blood Mage setup gives you an insane sustain through the instant leech from the damage dealt. Between Vitality Siphon, Mana Recovery Jevels and your flasks, it feels like you can't die unless you actually get one shot. Your gear priorities are straightforward: stack crit chance, crit multipliers, lightning damage and alive. The boots with 30 to 35% movement speed are non-negotiable, because the spark is all about positioning, so the faster you move, the more effective the sparks become. In terms of the uniques, the Choir of the Storm and the Azori's accuracy makes the build even more insane. Then for wands, we want plus levels to the lightning skills and crit chance to push our damage through the roof. Then Jevels are the real secret here. You need at least one with a 2% mana on kill to keep your sustain going, and then fill the rest with the crit chance and the multipliers. The end result is a build that feels like it has no weaknesses. Mapping is lightning fast, bosses get melted by overlapping sparks and the orbs, and the sustain makes it nearly impossible to bring you down. The spark has always been a fan favorite, and in 0.3 it has transformed into something truly broken.